Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Red Devil Experience. My name is Eric. We got the latest breaking Manchester United news. Pretty big day. Start off, apparently, Manchester United have a £250 million transfer war chest for the summer. Little bit of a financial update. The United have actually around £300 million, but will spend up to £250 million of it, leaving $50 million over in reserve, which, to be fair, I've been sort of predicting that for a few weeks now. I did say 250 million. It seemed like the math was adding up to somewhere around 300 million. We still obviously have to wait and see if we're actually going to spend that amount of money, but it is being reported that that is what we have to spend this summer. So that's very good. A little bit of maybe clarification on how much money we're actually looking at that we have available. So we'll get into that. We have some updates around Mateus Fernandes, of course, Tonali, Marcus Rashford, of course, Ederson, who is, again, it's like day by day, it just seems like it's, just inching very close to being done. It could be done at any day. It is Friday, so I was kind of expecting, that they would maybe announce it today on a Friday. There is the Champions League final, of course, tomorrow, so I don't know if they're necessarily going to do that, although maybe they could. Or maybe maybe it does get announced, on the Monday, starting next week. So we got those stories, plus some other loose stories. There's a little bit of an update to define a little bit more exactly what positions we're going for. I guess sort of a reiteration, because this has been reported before, but other things then get reported, which is slightly contradicting to those reports. So we got another one of those. And we also have somewhere... we have an update about Baleba as well. And for those of you that are don't feel very strongly about Baleba anymore, it is what I would say, I guess, a positive update for those of you that really don't want him and don't like him. So we're going to get into all the news. Please make sure you're smashing the like button, whether you're watching live or you're watching after the show. It's a massive help to the channel. You guys have been doing absolutely amazing. We've been absolutely smashing it the past few shows, 4 or 5 shows. The numbers have been insane. So thank you to all the support. Shout out to the new people. Shout out to the day ones, of course. If you enjoy the content, make sure you're subscribing, and people have been subscribing. So welcome to the new family members of the community. And make sure you hit the notification bell icon so you get notified when we go live. You get a notification 30 minutes before. You get one when we do go live. Best way to stay up to date. We also have a Discord. It's pinned in the pinned chat. So if you want to join the Discord, get in there. Good stuff when we're not online. Keep the conversation going 24 hours around. But other than that, let's sort of get straight into the show. I do want to lead off with, I guess I'll do the Mateus Fernandes thing and then I'll hit the Ederson thing, because it's not too many updates today so far. Maybe we got some new stuff since I went to go set up the show, which was about an hour ago. So, if we have to circle back, we'll circle back. But real quick on Mateus Fernandes, and then we'll move on to Ederson, and we'll tie them in together, and then we'll get to the chat. So shout out to the chat. Get chatting away. So this came from Manchester United Men, Manchester Evening News, saying Mateus Fernandes has reportedly agreed to join Manchester United, with West Ham expected to demand around £60 million. That's not new. The fee is not new. PSG are also interested, but United remain confident of sealing the deal. And then on top of that, to go hand in hand, the iPaper Sport also reported themselves that Mateus Fernandes reportedly views Manchester United as his first choice for the next step in his career. So as it stands right now, because things can change, and things do tend to change sometimes day to day or even hour by hour. But as it stands right now, positive updates for us. It does seem like, again, there was a little bit of a hint hint thing going on here that we do seem to be his preferred destination. A little bit more confirmation today, a little bit more of a double down. West Ham are going to demand around 60 million. Demand does not mean that he is going to go for 60 million. I don't expect him to go for 60 million. I do expect him to go for less. This is sort of West Ham's high offer. It's their first one. It's their sort of give us 60 million. We're obviously going to counter. We're not going to just be like, yeah, here's 60 million. We're going to counter with a much lower number. And then the two clubs will most likely usually meet somewhere around in the middle or close to that valuation. Could rise to 60 million with add-ons, but I don't think I would see us giving 60 million pounds up front as a base fee. But I mean, as far as this update goes, I mean, I would remain pretty confident as well if he is clearly indicating that, he's let it known that, yeah, you guys are my preferred destination, and is sort of giving us that green light that we see that Ineos loves so much and Manchester United loves so much. And usually, so far, I mean, under the Ineos regime, when we do get these sort of updates and the player has reportedly told Manchester United that we are the number one priority, they end up being our player. So, Cunha was that, Mbeumo was that, and Ederson is going to be another one, and Mateus Fernandes seems like he's going to be another one. So the Ederson deal is wrapping up, and it looks like the next one that we're going to move to is Mateus Fernandes as of right now, although we are working on some other things as well, so it's not just going to be all about Mateus Fernandes. Now, on Ederson, really quick, Stephen Railston gave us an update saying Manchester United are close to agreeing a deal to make Ederson their first signing of the summer transfer window. Over the last few weeks, United have been in talks to sign the Brazilian in a transfer worth around £38 million, which is expected to be structured at £35 million up front with a potential £3 million in add-ons. The transfer window does not open until June 15th, but United can announce the transfer and effectively complete it before then. United have moved quickly to get this deal done at the start of the summer. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we've been for the past, 2 days or so. The 38 million pounds with the 35 million up front, 3 million in add-ons. Obviously that last bit, the window doesn't officially open till June 15th. So on paper, he won't officially be our player. But as we all know, I'm sure most of us know, and if you want a recent example and you don't know, I mean, Barcelona just signed Anthony Gordon and the transfer window is not open. So you obviously can announce the transfer and effectively complete it before the window actually opens. And then just, it'll be officially recognized as an official transfer through, whatever it is, FIFA or whoever that organization body registers it as. And then it's official. So on top of that, Manchester Evening News, again, just sort of reiterating a bit of the same thing, just so you know that, it's coming from different sources. So it seems to be, pretty dead on. There's no sort of a bit of a surprise in there or something like that. United are closing in on their first signing of the summer, with talks ongoing with Atalanta over a deal worth around £38 million for Ederson. The move could be finalized very soon, with all parties keen to get it complete. And that's where we are basically right now as it stands on Mateus Fernandes and Ederson. Ederson, I mean, literally, we're at the point, just any day, probably at any hour, it can be announced. It could be announced while we're live right now. I mean, I'm not saying that that's what I think, but we're pretty much at that point in the deal where it's today, tomorrow, the day after, but it's happening. It's happening, and, we're not going to have to wait much longer, and then, obviously, we can celebrate it. For those that want to celebrate, some people aren't too happy with him, but loads of people are. And then we move on and shift our focus. Most likely it's going to be Mateus Fernandes along with, the rest of them, because there is other stuff going on. So, but let's see what the chat is saying before we go into our, other topics to discuss, because there is a lot of stuff that we actually do need to talk about. And I sort of want to have a big discussion over the transfer budget as well. Lucky is here. Brown Knight is here. Reynoso is here. Natasha is here. Stephanie is here. Hi, Stephanie. It's been a long time. Well, I shouldn't say a long time, but it's been a while. How you doing? Hope everything is good with you. And Reynoso is here. Shout out to all of you. Let's see where I pick up. Brown Knight said, what I miss? You didn't miss anything. You actually joined right perfectly on time, and you caught everything. So, Lucky says the Marcus Rashford sell 26 million to Arsenal. Well, I tell you right now, when it comes to Arsenal, and I know I don't want him, and I know I haven't asked for Marcus Rashford to come back, and I know I've been saying Marcus Rashford needs to leave. But when it comes to just real quick, and we'll circle back around to it, but I'll tell you right now, if Arsenal want Marcus Rashford, and I'm in charge of Manchester United, I'm taking the piss out of them and telling them, yeah, you want Rashford? 150 million, please. Obviously, they're not going to give us that money, but I would fuck with them and tell them that. They're not going to pay us. But that would be my official stance. I'll sell him to any other club because, you know, Villa, I don't really want to sell him to another Premier League team because I don't want that sort of dynamic. You know, I don't want that. I don't want that story. So I'd prefer to sell him outside of the league to any other club available. But when it comes to Arsenal, yeah, no. We're not giving you 26 million, 30 million, 35 million, 150 million, or shut up and walk away. And thank you and have a nice day. But Brown Knight says, God, I forgot how annoying this. I'm not gonna read that. I told you were gonna say something. I should pre-read before I actually read out loud. I am not the best at that. Natasha says, hi Eric, hope you're okay. I heard that it is Mateus Fernandes next. Well, it seems like it is Mateus Fernandes next, so we'll be keeping an eye on that, obviously, as much as we can. Damn, these ads take forever to skip. I know. Listen, I don't like the ads as much as you don't. I mean, I gotta have them on because, you know, we gotta make some type of money. You know, and hopefully one day we make enough money so I can really start reinvesting it into the channel. I would like to do a lot of cool things that I can't personally afford right now, but through support of all the people that would support us through the channel, eventually I'd be able to start using funds to really do some cool things. I have a lot of ideas for the future that I would like to do one day if we get there. So, but if you're a YouTube Premium user, you don't get ads. So there's always that. I yap out fantasy numbers as if you're playing FIFA. Oh, he's talking about Lucky. Damn it, I suck at that. I don't like reading those comments. You guys are talking between each other. Mr. Eric, hard to choose between Fernandes and Scott. Yes, we're going to talk about that. Scott is homegrown, but both bring some good stuff to the table. Who do you prefer? It's a good question. I like both those players. I'm going to be quite honest. I think I do like Alex Scott a little bit more. I like his style a little bit more. I don't know what it is about him, but when I watch him, he gives me a little bit of classic sort of United vibes, like Fergie player type United vibes in the midfield. I don't know what it is. I think it's just the way he plays the game. So I really do like him, but I will say at the same time, I will be happy with either or. I will be happy with either or. I think both of them are good players. There's some differences between them. I think Alex Scott is maybe a little bit more developed. He is also homegrown, as you're saying, and a little bit more, I guess, used to the English game, which you know, maybe a little bit more sort of Premier League proven in that way to a certain degree. But I like both players. So whichever one we get, I'll be okay with. You know, I'll be happy with. June 15th, I thought it was June 12th. Well, according to this update, they said June 15th, my friend, Mr. Brown Knight. So it could be June 12th, but from this update that I'm reading here, it says that it doesn't open till June 15th. So unless they got their information wrong or they wrote it wrong. Which could be a possibility. Nobody's perfect, and everybody makes mistakes. So they could have wrote the wrong number. So season is over. Just opened the window already. It's bad enough. It's a World Cup year. Well, it is what it is. Steph has confirmed 15th June window opens. Natasha says, hi, still really hot in the UK, 35 degrees. I think it's going to be hot like that for a while over there, if I'm not mistaken. Rashford will stay where he is. At Barcelona, you think? I don't know. I mean, there's a bit of a discussion there as well. There's some interesting ways to look at it. And, you can look at it in a couple ways. Half glass full, half glass empty. Or, panic button stations time. Culture Spot is here as well. Culture Spot 75 says, I want to see us push up to 280 million to get Ederson, Fernandes, maybe Chewy from Real, definitely Carlos B from Brighton, and the fantastic Mr. Rogers. Well, the thing is, sure, I can understand the fee part. I will tell you that there's probably no way we get 4 midfielders. I think that's a lot, and that's too many for, one window. And we do still need, a left back, a left wing. We could probably use a second striker. There's also the potential of maybe a center back. I mean, not in this transfer window. I don't think it's that high on the priority, but in terms of going forward in the future for the squad, we don't know what's going to happen with that back line. De Ligt has had a serious injury problem and has had injuries in the past, and he's just had surgery. So we're going to have to see what happens with him. Martinez has had a little bit of a question mark hanging over his head for quite some time. Obviously, we love him, and, we rate him. But, we got to see how he's going to do as well, fitness-wise. Maguire is up there in age. And he does tend to get, couple injuries for a couple weeks throughout the season, maybe 2 to 3 times, in a season for a couple weeks here and there. So, he's aging out, and he only has, 1 year on his contract, that we gave him the extension. And then obviously we have Euro and Heaven, which we don't really have to worry too much about in terms of fitness. But, there's still a bit of young lads, and they still need to grow a little bit more. So, I 4 in the midfield would be, I think for this season, would be overkill. Considering the other positions that we do actually have to end up filling out, whether it's this summer or the following window. So, 3 is very good, and 3 is exactly what we need for now. And then we move. And then we, see what's going on later on at a different time. Like he says, we looking to get transfers done regardless of how we get Ederson, Mateus Fernandes, Sandro Tonali, Ugarte to Inter Milan. I see it as the unveiling of Gordon to Barcelona. We'll see. We'll get to those updates. The transfer window officially opens for business on Monday, June 15th, with deadline day taking place on Tuesday, September 1st in England. Rashford's destination, Stephanie says, will hopefully not be a saga all summer. Please close the book once and for all, United. Well, the thing about Rashford, okay, and I guess we could do the thing since everybody is kind of talking about Rashford. I guess we could get into it. So I'll give a little bit of my opinion on this right now. We'll do the updates. We'll go back to opinions. So Steph says she hopes that the saga, it won't be a saga all summer. There is a potential that the saga can be all summer. It's because this Barca thing, all right, they supposedly have till June the 15th to hit the buy clause that we gave them as an option in the loan. After June 15th, that expires. So if they don't do that, then there's a couple things could probably happen, but mainly probably one of 2 things. One of the reported things is that Barca, it doesn't mean that the deal is 110% dead in the water from the Barca standpoint. It has been reported that They haven't said that they wouldn't continue to try and negotiate a deal after June 15th expiry date if they let it come to that. Now, if Barca end up being able to make some sort of an agreement with Manchester United, whether it's the original offer that's sitting on the table right now, or it's an offer that happens after the June 15th and United and Barcelona can come to some sort of agreement, then that will probably just be done because he's already at Barca. His representatives have already talked to Barca. I think pretty much on his end, from player to Barca type of thing, everything is sorted. So when he goes to the World Cup, and the World Cup will have started by then, if United and Barcelona make that agreement, then the deal will just go through, even though he's at the World Cup. Now, if Manchester United and Barca don't come to an agreement, and it falls apart, and it's not, it's announced it's not, there's no chance of it happening, and so effectively, he's going to have to find a brand new destination and maybe pick out of the couple, whatever offers he's got on the table, then unfortunately that thing will basically drag on because I don't think he'll be able to, I don't think he's going to do that sort of thing while he's at the World Cup, which means that for the deal to actually be completed, he will have to come home from the World Cup and then, I guess, assess all his options. To the very least, his agent, which is, I believe, still his brother, could lay out a lot of the groundwork while he's at the World Cup. But obviously, you still need Marcus he's got to make the final decision. He's got to make the pick. He's got to agree and stuff like that. So I think if the Barca deal doesn't get done, this Rashford thing isn't going to get done until probably, maybe the beginning of August or something, or it could go down sort of late. I would expect Rashford doesn't want it to go that late because obviously there's a preseason and, he's going to want to, wherever he goes, play, and he's going to want to obviously get into the team and, be ready for the new season because he's going to have to sort of earn his spot once again if it's not going to be Barca, since he already has like relations and stuff there and he's already performed to a certain level. When you're going into a new team, you're sort of starting over from fresh again. You have to prove yourself again. You have to sort of earn your spot. You have to, be in that sort of stuff. So we will see. Thank you, Steph, for moderating. I read some random stuff on Insta about possibly moving Delit along. Yeah, I mean, listen, the Instagram thing, you got to really be, I would say I don't really pay attention to the Instagram is like, for all the football Twitter nonsense that goes on X, right? I mean, Instagram is really bad because Instagram is like, it's all for likes and stuff. It's even worse. It's even worse. There's a lot of like fake, non-credible stuff on Instagram. It's just all for hype and stuff like that. So, I do from time to time, I do tend to see like, things like that pop up and I'm just like, I don't know who this account is. I don't know what this is. They're not even basically quoting a source. This is probably 99.9% bullshit. They just want people to hit the like button. And share it, so they get their little traction stuff for their account. Sadiq says sell Rashford to Bayern. Well, if Bayern want him, sure, let's do it. Lucky says Eric, I know Rashford going Atletico Madrid, Arsenal. Well, we'll see. Culture Spots is popping in. Hope you're well. Still moving to Malta. Well, not moving yet, but I am going on Monday because I have to go for my uncle's funeral. So I'm going there. I'm going to be there for a little bit, about like some 20-something days. I'm going to come back here for about a month. And then I'm going back again for about 6-7 weeks or something like that. And then I'll be coming back here again. So, it's a lot of traveling, so bear with me while that's going on and I'm trying to sort out the shows because the schedule is going to be a little bit different and a little bit hectic, and the times are going to change. They're 6 hours ahead. I do my show here at 3:30 p.m. my time. It's 9:30 p.m. there. I'll be living a little bit of a different life over there than I live over here. So, you know, it is what it is. But we'll figure it out. We always do. We've done this probably 2 years already. So, Rashford wants to UCL, possibly back to Villa. Well, that is an option as well. We'll see. 17. Steph says 17 likes and 23 watching. Yes, thank you everybody for smashing the like button so far. I greatly appreciate it. Newcastle United selling Anthony Gordon, brilliant Barcelona. Culture Spot says, I am by trade an English teacher and can help some of the traditional posters here. That would be good. That would be good stuff. Brown Knight says condolences. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. The messages have been great. You know, listen, it's sad, but it is sort of kind of, it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing you could really do about it. It's unfortunately a part of life, and you know, you just got to figure out, you know, how to deal with it and keep moving forward. So I've had a lot of support and a lot of love from people, which has made it, you know, feel a lot better in a tough time for, you know, me and my family. So I greatly do appreciate it to everybody. So thank you. And Lumen says, oh, rest in peace to your uncle. Sorry, bro. Yes, thank you. You know, big Stoke City fan, man. Big Stoke City fan. That part for me will always stick with me. You know, there's no reason for me to have any sort of an affiliation with Stoke City, but because of him, you know what I mean? So up to Stoke, and hopefully they return one day to the Premier League, and we'll see him again. You know, that would make him very happy up there. 76.3 million Barcelona bought Anthony Gordon. He is going to enjoy Spain. Baba says, if Rashford got some self-respect, he will never wear that Barca shirt again. Go somewhere else or come back and work hard with your head down. Well, you know what? It's sort of a fair assessment. I mean, and well, you know, because it does seem like they don't really want him. Again, you know, Barca have kind of been doing this weird thing with him the whole time. You know, initially, before he went to Villa, it was something of a similar taste. Like, he really wanted to go to Barca. Barca was like, we don't have money, and, you know, we got to move a player on. But they didn't seem like they really tried to get it done, and he went to Villa, and then he came back, and then he ended up going. But, you know, it's a very... I don't really know exactly how to read this, because it's either they, you know, do they really want him? Is it they're playing a game with sort of us over the fee because they're trying to, because I kind of feel like they're trying to rob us. You know what I mean? And I don't know why they're trying to rob us, because they just spent 80 million on Gordon. There's news talking about that they want to go after Julian Alvarez, who's going to cost them 100 million, okay? Which I don't know if that's true, but they are looking for a striker to replace Lewandowski. It is expected for them to spend a good chunk of money. So it's not... So, you know, my initial thoughts was that these guys are still sort of scraping for money. Because they're like, 26 million and Rashford's wages, it's quite expensive. But he's had a pretty good season for you. I think the one thing that doesn't really pan out too much, if you look at Rashford and you look at Anthony Gordon and you look at Hansi Flick's system and you look at Hansi Flick's demands as a manager, Anthony Gordon has a much better work rate than Marcus Rashford. Anthony Gordon definitely tracks back a lot better than Marcus Rashford. So I can see why they went for Anthony Gordon and put him in there. But this weird thing with Rashford where it's like they kind of want him, they don't want him. You know, what is really the angle? Because I don't really know. I don't really know where to put my finger on it. I don't know if they're just really undecided about him. I don't know if they're playing a game with us and they're trying to basically play this weird facade of like, yeah, we don't know if we really want him, to try and play us so that they can absolutely basically just, rip us off and do like a deal where in the end, they were always super happy to keep him. They're super excited. And then they sort of point and laugh and they're like, haha, you guys are idiots. We totally ripped you off. And we just signed a player that we would say is very good for basically next to nothing. Which obviously benefits them because obviously, look, if they're looking to spend a lot of money, they're looking to massively improve their squad. If you can get a player that you rate as a very quality and good player, and you could get him for as cheap as possible, it's a big W for you as a football club. So it's a bit like, I kind of, my instinct here is telling me that they are, they're fucking with us. They're playing games with us. They're trying to basically rip us off in a certain way. They're trying to pull the wool over our eyes and rob us blind. I think that's what is really going on. I've had that feeling for a while now. So, I don't know. We got to see. We got to see how it goes. But like Baba was saying, I mean, I can understand how, it could be seen as, they don't really want you, mate. You should have some self-respect, because if they really wanted you, they had plenty of time and chances and opportunities to just be like, yes, we're very happy with you. Let's do it. And most, in a lot of situations, people, let's just say human beings in general, when they really want something, they go after it. And if they have the opportunity to get the thing, they usually jump at it and get it ASAP. They don't really sit around and play, games like how they're doing. So I get where he's coming from. Aston Villa finally have some budget spend. Well, we'll see. Messing United about playing in simple methinks. That's what I kind of feel, Steph, right now. So, yeah, Rashford kind of screwed that up for himself. He just added a whole extra dynamics escalated to the possible transfer by saying he only wants to play there. It was bad enough before that. Axe is here. What's up, Axe? Chelsea in relegation football next season. Spill the tea, Lou fan for life is here. What's up, bro? Axe says, also my condolences, Eric. Yes, I saw your message. Thank you, man. I really do appreciate it. It was a nice message. Nice message. So thank you for that. Grace is here. Hi, Grace. How you doing? I love it. I love it. Everybody's here, especially the the OG original family. So let me just real quick, since we're talking about Marcus Rashford, I'll give you sort of the update part, okay, and the less of my opinion part. Let me just find it. I have them here. I actually pulled them all up, so I don't have to go really searching for them, okay? So this one came out yesterday, right? Late at night. You guys, I think, were sleeping. Those of you that are in the UK and Europe were sleeping. This came out at 8:30 p.m. My time, Eastern Standard Time, and this came from a source, Race One or RAC1, which is a Spanish outlet, Catalan outlet. Okay, they said Marcus Rashford is reportedly not part of FC Barcelona's long-term plans and is unlikely to stay beyond this season unless they fail to sign a striker to eventually replace Robert Lewandowski. Barcelona are also said to view Anthony Gordon as a better tactical fit than Rashford, particularly for pressing and defensive work, which is basically kind of what I just said on that last bit. The first bit, I mean, I do sort of buy into this angle a little bit because it does seem like, it has been reported for quite a bit of time. They do seem a bit reluctant to do the permanent deal. And we also know for the longest of time, it has been reported that Barca have been trying to get United to agree to another loan deal, which I have been definitely 100% against because it doesn't benefit us in any way, and it only benefits Barcelona. So I don't see how that deal is very good for us. But it does seem like that maybe there is a pot that might be the actual real angle, that they don't really want to sign him permanently. They would take him out on loan because it does help them out. It's an extra player for an extra year that they have to pay a loan fee. They don't have to pay a permanent deal. They don't have to be stuck with him. And also, they can make whatever signings they need to make now. Their aim is obviously to have an improved season on the one that they just had, which would probably translate to more money. So when they get to the next transfer window, summer transfer window, they'll have even more money. They'll be able to spend even more big, and they'll probably just, move on from Marcus Rashford and keep going. So they're basically using Marcus Rashford, and they're using us so that they can get ahead. So from that angle, like I've been saying, and, I've been backing Ineos on this one, and I think so far they've done a good job. And I've been saying, keep the foot down, and they've had a spine compared to our previous spineless people that were in charge, because they would have already caved to these demands 110%. So I'm asking for them to, finish strong. Do not cave at the very end and end up making some sort of a concession where Rashford goes on loan and we end up in it with a deal that it doesn't really benefit us, but we have to do it, or they tell us we have to do it because there's no other options. There are other options. It's going to be a bit difficult. It's going to be a bit of pain in the ass, but football clubs that operate correctly and have, people that are worthy of being in charge will figure out a solution and get shit done, essentially. So that was one update. That was yesterday. Okay, that was yesterday late at night. Also, right after that, another update. Really at the same time, a correspondent for ESPN, Barcelona correspondent, Spanish correspondent for Barcelona who works for Spanish ESPN, I guess, said if Barcelona activate Marcus Rashford's 30 million euro buy option, the fee would reportedly be paid in 3 installments of 10 million euros across 2026, 2027, and 2028. Which again sort of leads to the aspect of, bro, he's not even costing you a shit ton of money, so you can't go and spend 80 million on Anthony Gordon. Yes, it's amateurized and they're going to pay, 15, 20 million over the next 5 years for each year. But you're paying 10 million over 3 years. So it's not like it's killing you money-wise, really. So it does seem like so far through these updates, there's a couple more, but it does seem like so far that they are basically using him. In that they're like, well, we have a player here that we could temporarily use. We'll address some other things. We'll spend the money. We'll have an extra guy. And then when we get to the other point, we'll basically throw him away because we don't really want him. But for a very, very cheap, basically, fee, which is a loan fee, and no obligation, and basically no strings attached, we'll definitely take him, because it's like, it's essentially like picking up some dude off of the street, and using him temporarily, and then kicking him back out later on. It's like, it's kind of like these people that, there's people, we have 8 billion people in the world. There's people out there that, they sort of go into a relationship because maybe, for example, one person, that person doesn't have money. The other person has loads of money. So they go with that person to relationship because they know that they can kind of use them for money until they get to a certain point in their life. And then once they're pretty stable and they got their own money coming in, it's time to leave. We'll see you later. Never really loved you. Never really wanted to be with you. Just, used you situationally. It was it worked out to my advantage. And then, now you're, you've been used and you've been screwed. Which kind of seems like, that's what it kind of feels like to me right now. And then, the same source Spanish source that works for ESPN. His name is Moise ESPN Mollarens. He said this morning at 6:33 a.m. my time, Barcelona sources say they have not ruled out signing Marcus Rashford despite the arrival of Anthony Gordon and are keen to renegotiate the terms of the deal with Manchester United. On top of that, now I don't know about this source, but she works for The Sun, okay, and is apparently specializes in Man United. Her name is Catherine Walsh. I'll take this with a pinch of salt, but we'll update it anyway. Barcelona have reportedly been trying to renegotiate the terms of Marcus Rashford's £26 million buy option, but Manchester United believe the price is fair. Talks could continue even if the June 15 deadline passes without an agreement, but United are not open to another loan deal. At the very least, they should not be open to another loan deal, and we should not accept that. And, you know, if it makes it harder for us, so be it. You know, this has sort of been, again, one of these things that is a bit of a mistake of the past from the previous regimes that we have to currently deal with today in 2026 with sort of at least half a new regime at our football club. And, you know, it's just something that, tough shit, we got to figure it out. You know, it's not ideal. It's not easy. It is quite clearly sort of a bit of a pain in the ass. The wages is the thing that's basically killing us here, and there's nothing we could really do about that. But, you know, it's not a be-all and end-all about Barcelona. It's just if it's how painful and how much dragged out it's actually going to be. So, where did I leave off in the chat? You didn't see my messages. I didn't. I don't know where they are. The only message I saw from you, Grace, was that that you waved. Some of you need, you know what? Some of you need profile pictures, okay? Because all you got is a little color circle with a letter in it, okay? And sometimes I get confused as well because some of them are similar. Spill the T says, "Hey Eric, my condolences." Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. How you doing? Grace says, also, if Barcelona are paying the Gordon money over multiple years plus his wages will be like half of Rashford's, then it will be a lot cheaper up front, meaning they can make more signings. Yes, that is true as well. And it is spread out over more time as well. And he is younger as well, Anthony Gordon. And as they mentioned, he is a better tactical fit. So, you know, the Gordon thing makes sense. It's the Rashford thing that it's like, you know, there is a very big aspect, and I feel like it could be that they are using him. They're trying to basically rip us off, and they're trying to use sort of this shitty situation that we have with this player, Marcus Rashford, to their advantage, while basically us getting burned. So, you know, perhaps we should bring back Rashford. We should absolutely not. We should absolutely not. I am not one of these people. I've never been. And I probably never will be. I don't care really who it is. You know, we had a thing. It ended. I don't believe in going back. You know, no matter how it really ends, I don't believe in going back. You know, some people would take Mason Greenwood back. To me, I don't care the circumstances. He was here. He's gone. It's over. You know, the opportunity, the chance, it was there. He was our player. Regardless of who it is, Rashford, Greenwood, whatever. They were our player. We had plenty of opportunities to sort that out, to try and make it work. We've moved on. We should not be going back. And like I stated before, Marcus Rashford, as much as maybe some fans would love to take him back, and they drop everything in the world to take him back, you still have to think about, don't think like a fan. Look at sort of Marcus Rashford's stance. Marcus Rashford doesn't actually want to come back to Manchester United. Not under this regime. If we got maybe brand new owners and everybody was gone from the hierarchy and we got new people in and they were like, yeah, we shouldn't have never let Rashford go, maybe he would come back. But I can tell you, the hierarchy doesn't like Rashford, and Rashford doesn't like the hierarchy. It's not about him liking the club. I think he's always obviously going to be a fan of the club, and it's his boyhood club. So I don't think it's like, it's not like he's like turned into Di Maria and he's like, fuck Manchester United. I hate you guys. But I don't see him coming back to play and work under a regime that he doesn't like and they don't like him. They quite clearly had some sort of, at some level, a bit of a falling out, I guess, to describe. Because they wouldn't have let him go if they weren't displeased with him, and he wouldn't have been, so happy to go if he didn't have some sort of falling out with them. They did sanction that deal, along with Ruben Amorim. So there is a bit of an issue there. I don't think that can be mended. I don't think it would be good. I think it would be quite disruptive. We have a good core of group of players right now. It's very positive. It's very healthy. We don't really need anything that could potentially disrupt that. We don't need excessive media, bullshit stories being written and, Marcus Rashford coming back and Michael Carrick being asked 77 questions about Marcus Rashford for 3 months straight. And if Rashford doesn't play well, it's going to get worse. We don't need that. We don't need that. We're on a different path, a fresh path. We go get different players, new players. We try a new thing, a different thing. It's fresh, it's new, it's exciting, and we move forward. And he moves forward. Plus, Gordon works really hard pressing and defensively, like you said. Yeah, and anybody that's watched Gordon, I mean, it's easy to see. 15th of June is the day, or else Rashford coming back. Well, listen, Rashford will have to temporarily, on paper, come back to us, yes, but he will be with England at the World Cup, so it's not going to be like he's going to be at Carrington. And again, I don't think there's any chance that Ineos, even if Carrick wants him, I think Ineos will probably majoritarily. Let's say this. Michael Carrick walks in, he goes to Omar, he goes to Jason Wilcox, he goes to Vivell, he goes to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, and he's like, listen, he's like, I would like Marcus Rashford back. I like the lad. I have a bit of a relationship with him. I rate him. Okay. We do operate by some sort of a committee, as they supposedly say. I think that all of those guys would probably be like, listen, Michael, we try our best to support you, but it's an absolute no from basically all of us. So it's not happening. We will get you somebody else. We'll get you a new target, but we don't want him back. We let him go for a reason. We were not happy with him, and we're not going to take him back. We've already made the decision to move him on. So I think that's how that's going to be played out. He likely go Atletico Madrid, loves Spain. I don't see any future football in England. Well, I don't know. I mean, it depends. Atletico Madrid, they want him. They need him. Richard says bring him back, sell him for more. Well, maybe you could do such a thing. I don't know. It's a bit hard to do that, I would argue, Richard, only because it's very public that basically we've set the fee at £26 million. So it's a bit hard to bring him back and then tell the other clubs, yeah, we now we want 35 or 40 or 45 or 50, whatever it may be. Because they'd be like, well, hold on. You gave Barcelona a deal. They've been trying to, they haven't really accepted it. They've been trying to renegotiate, and you've been telling them, well, like I just said in one of the updates, you just said that you think that £26 million is a fair deal. Also, a problem with that is he does have 2 years left on his contract, and his wage is still very high. So it comes down to a point of, are you going to try and, yeah, in my opinion, it's a bit greedy, because you're trying to get a lot more money, but the situation is not ideal for you to do such a thing. He's not really wanted at United. That's well known. He has 2 years left on his deal. His wage is very high, and he had one decently good season out of the last 3 seasons. So, and he's, what is he, 26, 27? He's like in his prime now. So whoever's signing him, a 5-year deal is expected. Plus, those wages are still going to remain very high, and they're very high for a lot of clubs. Very too rich. So at somewhere, that middle ground has to be hit, because I think they're fully aware, especially with Ineos, ones that have been looking at the high wages and don't really like them and don't want them. I think they can understand how that is a significant problem for other clubs, because they sort of agree in the same boat. Like, they don't really agree with paying astronomically ridiculous fees, which he is on. So yeah, I think it's a big problem in that department. That's why I think it's very hard to be able to get more money for Marcus Rashford. You could personally rate him whatever you want based on his ability, but the situation is not really ideal for us to have a lot of flexibility on this one. Temiskin says, please, Wilcox, I need Tonali, Mateus Fernandes, Lewis Hall, Maxi Araujo, Lewandowski, Adeyemi to United is better for next season. Please, Ineos, make a plan. Well, I do think they have a plan already. They need to execute the plan. For signing loan King in Lee, Okafor, Mitrovic. Well, but we're not getting all those players. We're getting 4 to 5. He was being forced out. It looked like, and Bruno. Vernoso asking Axe if Rashford moves back and he crashed on your couch. Axe will give him his whole house. He's just going to give him the keys to his house, to the car. He'll let him eat all the food in the fridge. Run up the electricity bill and the water bill. Tell Barcelona we will swap Rashford with Yamal. No. Richard said, we had this in the 70s with Dennis Law. Dennis did not want to leave United, but Tommy Doherty insisted. And also, Dennis Law did not send us down. Other results did. Well, I mean, but, yeah, I don't know. I find it very hard for him to come back. I think the only way he comes back is like if the other clubs out there, basically everybody's like, yeah, we don't want him and we won't pay, any sort of fee that you're asking for. And basically, essentially, like, Rashford would have to be considered like a player like Luke Shaw or Mason Mount, or like Phil Jones was to a certain extent, where like there was nobody out there in the world that was even remotely interested because of their injury record, but this one would be because of the finances. And ultimately, we would then just be in a position where it's like, yeah, we literally have 0 options, but that he has to stay here. I don't really, right now, in my heart, in my chest, I don't really see that as something that's going to happen. I rate it very low. 10, 15, 20% chance of that happening. I don't know how it's actually going to play out in terms of where he's going to end up, but I would be very remiss that he ends up basically being forced upon us to stay, and then, I don't know what to do with that, because they wouldn't really want him in the squad. I mean, they would have to be in a situation forced of like, well, if we don't play him and we send him to like the reserves or some shit, well, the value is dying, and also we're still paying him some $300,000 a week, so that's kind of a waste. But we don't really want him in the team, so it's that would be an absolute disaster. Which is why I don't think they can let that happen. And I don't think they're going to let it happen, because that would be probably the worst of the worst outcomes to happen. It would be fine, guys. We're Manchester United. Yeah. At some point it will be fine. Richard knows probably better than any of us. Since he's the oldest, he's the most experienced. He's seen the most, eras of Manchester United and cycles and periods of football. But I always say it, I didn't live it, but I read it. Look at our history. We come and go. It happens. We go up, we go down. We have shitty, terrible times. It gets turned around. We have really good times. So at some point, somehow, some way, at one time, we will be fine again. And we do manage to get through some pretty ugly and tough, difficult moments that the club has faced. And, it's not it's not like we've done it once. We've done it so many times you probably can't count on two hands. So at some point, it's not luck. It's, ingrained, sort of. Many people talk about DNA. It's ingrained in our DNA. Like, if it happens once or twice, you say, all right, whatever. Bit of luck. We got away with one or whatever, whatever it is. But if you do it so many times throughout so many periods of history and years and generations, it's not luck. It's part of the DNA. So I missed it again. Grace, I think it's not going through. Oh, you know what's happening? Hold on. I missed it again. I don't see it, Grace. Oh, wait. No, the last two comments I have from you is about Gordon, money, and Gordon pressing really well. And that's all I see. So I don't know what's happening, but Luke Chapman said may have Wellingborough Town home kit colors, yellow and blue. I know what that means. I'm sorry. Andresito, sorry, I missed the chat. See, because you and Temesgen have the same... Oh, that was Andresito. I read that out. Okay, I gotta stop going backwards. All right. Bro, Rashford for Yamal. Axe, just stop. Stop. It's not happening. It's not happening. Go do it in Football Manager, which I'm sure you already do, which is probably why you're saying that. But go do it in Football Manager, bro, because that's the only place it's gonna happen. The only place that's happening is Football Manager, EA Career Mode, or your dreams. And that's it. I give my everything to Rashford. We know that. Rashford hat-trick in the World Cup final, hat-trick in the next UCL final. Okay. Well, we'll see. Grace says, I said, which twat is gassing up Stoke? They're crap. Grace, that's my uncle's team, Grace. That's my uncle's team. Grace doesn't know. Grace doesn't know. Grace, my uncle passed away 2 days ago. Okay? And he was a huge Stoke City fan. So I was gassing up Stoke. Now Grace probably feels really bad. It's okay, Grace. It's okay. Don't worry about it. I had Rashford as my captain for 4 consecutive years. Yeah, there you go. All right. So listen, let's move on from Rashford because I don't want to do a whole Rashford show, and there's other things that pertain to our future. So obviously with the thumbnail, 250 million. Okay. Grace says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I've not been around lately." I know. It's okay, Grace. Don't worry. I know. It's 2 different things. You didn't know. If you knew and you did that, it's a different story. You know what I mean? But it's okay. You were just being your usual self. I mean, how were you supposed to know? So it's all right. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. She didn't know. She didn't know. Nobody get mad at her. Nobody get mad at her. She had absolutely no clue. Grace has not been around for a while. So it's fine. It's fine. I promise. I promise. She didn't know. She wouldn't do that. So all right, let's move. All right. So obviously the thumbnail, 250 million transfer war chest. Okay, and this is because a couple different sources have outlined this. So one of them, apparently there's a new ITK, which if you don't know what ITK is, it's in the know. Okay, United in the know. There's a new United in the know account. Now, I don't know how credible this because there's been a lot of them in the past that they're full of shit. This one has been around since 2022, so it's not like they just made the account in 2026. So they do have a decently good amount of respectable people that I respect that do follow them. So I do think that they have maybe some type of decently good information. I am always a bit worried because you don't know who these people are. But so they have been reporting a lot of stuff. One of the things that they did report, and it was early in the morning this morning, okay, was that Manchester United have £300 million to spend on transfers this summer. On paper, if spent, this would break all transfer records at Manchester United, okay? And now I know that's coming from a ITK account, so if you want a little bit more with something with the name of it to it, a face, a reputation, well, we have this other update that came actually before that one, saying from Stephen Railston again, saying despite having the scope to spend up to £300 million this summer, United are taking a long-term view and have laid out 3 priorities for the window, and then listed as overhauling the midfield, strengthening the left wing, and signing a left back. So this has been reported a few times, over the past, I would say, couple months. All right. And sometimes here and there we get another story that it goes a little bit out of whack, where it's like midfield, potentially a striker, maybe a center back. Once in a while they mention like a second goalkeeper or something. But generally, for most of the time, for a pretty consistent amount of time, it has always been sort of midfield, left wing, left back. Majority of the time. So we're getting this sort of update again. It could make sense if we do it. I would be... what we do we just ignore sort of the second striker for now? A lot of us know that like Mbeumo has sort of been that backup option. If we get another left winger, I guess it gives us a little bit more depth, so we could sort of rotate around like that. I mean, we haven't used Cunha there, really, but I kind of feel like if we wanted to, we could use Cunha there as well. But Mbeumo has been the guy selected by Carrick to do that position over Cunha, which is a bit interesting, but, again, he's the man in charge. I leave it up to him. It's his call. And whatever. It's got to work out for him because he's, it's on him. But, yeah, I mean, it does kind of seem like that. I do think that, like, the one part that I'll kind of be excited for is once we actually sort of get through the midfield process, I get excited because then it'll be a lot more abundantly clear on what is actually, the next step and our next actual real targets. Because right now, left wing names and left wing targets and left back names and left wing targets are sort of like they're floating around, but they're not really sticking. There's like maybe a small amount of smoke, but there isn't like a big amount of smoke like there is obviously or was with Ederson. And, there's some sort of smoke with Mateus Fernandes going on. But these other positions like the left wing and the left back, they're mentioned, but they're not really like, look like they're about to catch fire yet. So, once we get past the midfield thing, then, those positions, left wing and left back, because I kind of feel like at this moment in time, that's probably the path we're going to go down, especially sort of the left wing thing, because, some people didn't believe the Semenyo thing. I do think that it was true, but we were looking to get some sort of a left wing at that point. We were looking at Semenyo, so we didn't get one, so I still feel like that is a truthful thing, that obviously we would still like to get some sort of a left wing because we never got one. So, and then, the left back. thing going on. So there is that with the transfer fee. And then also Simon Stone just sort of also, I think he was the one that sort of broke this because it seems like he has the earliest post about this. But he was the one that sort of said United have £250 million to spend on transfers. The club, this came off of the bat of yesterday that there was, the club confirmed that they paid off £110 million of their revolving credit facility since the reporting period ended on the 31st March, which is a key method of paying for transfers. So that has allowed us to get more flexibility for this summer in terms of spending, which is a massive help, which, you know, listen, people didn't like the cuts that they made. People didn't like, you know, some of the, I guess, the penny pinching that they were saying. But I think that has probably been able to help with allowing the club to actually pay off 110 million of this. Plus, obviously, you know, the revenues and all the other stuff. And they did raise some ticket prices. So, you know, if people didn't really like them. But I mean, on the flip side, listen, if that has allowed us to be a bit more flexible and spend some more money, I guess it wasn't all that bad, really, as long as they're not like necessarily putting in their pocket and, you know, fucking off our club. So, but I did say a few weeks ago, I did have the feeling that, you know, I was kind of leaning around 200 and 250 million. I did make some sort of an argument somewhere that I said, let's just say to the maximum, we have about 300 million. That's where I was sort of saying, you know, that's the highest ceiling we're going. There's nothing going to go over that for sure. But I was saying that if it was 300 million pounds, I wouldn't expect them to spend 300 million pounds. I do think that probably the correct business move, and even a football financial move for the betterment of the club, if you have 300 million, you shouldn't spend all your money because you don't actually necessarily know what's going to go. It's probably a smart move to leave a little bit left over just in case for whatever scenario arises. I don't think you want to necessarily max out the credit card. As much as we want transfers and we need players, and I'm not telling them to be cheap and I'm not telling them to do nothing, but I do think if we care about our football club and we don't want our football club to be in such shitty positions, we do have to strike a balance between spending a good amount of money and potentially putting us in some sort of a very bad position based on, you know, let's just say we spend 300 million and we have a really shit season. And somehow we end up not in Europe again and we lose money. Well, we've maxed out our spending, which is not as good as if you have maybe 50 million left over in the bank. Maybe you could do a deal in January with that. And now you're losing all this money. And now the club has gone from a position where we had a lot of flexibility and more money in this summer to the next summer, we're screwed again. And we're not going to have that flexibility and we're not going to have that power. And we're not even going to have the attractiveness because we're not in Europe and we didn't have a very good season. So, yeah, I mean, listen, 250 million. Is it going to be exactly 250 million? It could be a little bit less. It could be 230 million. Could be 225. Maybe some people already indicating in the chat, they were saying like 265, 270. Could very well be. But, I mean, you know, like I always typically say, proof will be in the pudding. It's a positive update, but let's see what they actually do. Let's see how much they actually spent. Now, somebody here was listing out like Ederson for 38 million pounds, Fernandes for 55 to 60 million pounds, around there, and Tonali / Tchouaméni, 100 million estimate. They said this leaves about 50 to 55 million, which can be spent on a decent left-sided player to get a centre back and a striker / goalkeeper. We must sell. I'm sorry. They said to get a centre back and a striker / goalkeeper, we must sell players. We might then sign 67 players, which I would be happy with. Well, that would be probably the ultimate transfer window for us. Really, if we were able to do such a thing. You know, so I don't know if they want to necessarily spend 100 million on Tonali Tchouameni. I think they would like to spend maybe 80. It would give us an extra 20, which could give us around 70 to 75 million. And then somehow maybe you split that into two for a left winger and a left back. Maybe, we do have to probably sell Xerxes and Ugarte. There is an update about Ugarte being sold as well. Or going to be sold, sorry. And, I don't know about the 6-7 players, but the 5 should be on. The 5 that we've been sort of asking for and saying that's probably, the good amount. 4 would be slightly underwhelming and leaving us probably a little bit light and a little bit feeling of like we could have at least done one more. I think 5 is a sweet spot. 6 and 7 would be, better and above, I guess, expectations, because I don't really have faith in them doing 6 to 7 signings. So it would be well up over that. But let me see what you guys are saying, because when I do these updates, I couldn't see the chat. So, Lucky wants a left winger for new assistant manager. Richard says, not a credible account according to Jason Ferguson. It is an account that jumps on rumors and builds them up. Yeah, probably. I mean, that's why I was sort of refraining from using them, because I mean, I don't really know. But I mean, you could kind of look at the timestamp as well. I mean, I appreciate you for telling me that. You could probably figure it out looking at the timestamp. I mean, they posted whatever that update was at 6:18 a.m. Okay, and they didn't write a source. They just write it as, it's their inside information. But when you look at the other guys like Stephen Railson, he talked about United having 300 million an hour before they posted it, and then Simon Stone put it out 2 hours before. So basically, they just, it's not like they even broke it. They basically just piggybacked it and then put it out like they had some sort of inside information. So I've been I've seen that account being sort of reposted by the aggregators, so I've been really refraining from using it. But I just bring it in because I was like, well, they're not the only one, so it's not like they're the only one saying it right now. But yeah, we probably that's probably the last time I even acknowledge them. So, Ray says I would play Cunha down the middle, put Mbeumo back on the right, sign a 1v1 winger, and play Dorgu over James Corden as the attacking left back. I mean, you could do that. And, it makes sense. But, I don't know, Michael Carrick, his decision. And maybe he does do that. Maybe some things do slightly change because maybe they make up a plan for what they currently have. And then when you get new additions, you can sort of start shifting things around and changing things and sort of making sort of a new plan. So, it'll be interesting to see what really happens. And, if we carry on with sort of Mbeumo being like the plan B backup striker type of thing, or maybe things get shifted around, if we do get in a new left winger, maybe it's Cunha that moves into that role. And Mbeumo stays out on the wing, and then there's Diallo. And then, whatever it is with Dorgu, whether, he's shifting back to left back, or we continue to use him as, a left winger or something like that. So, Natasha says, hi, Eric, I'm back. What have I missed? I heard Cunha might be... No, Cunha's not getting sold. You still think it's going to go pear-shaped and Carrick be sacked by Christmas? Well, I mean, listen, that could always be a possibility. Football sometimes is a bit unpredictable. And, he had a very good start. since he came in, and he had a very good, from January, good 17 games. Next season's going to be different. And there's always a chance that for whatever reason, somehow, some way, it could go horribly wrong. I don't really feel like that right now. I don't hope for it at all. So, but listen, anything can happen. You never know. You never know. The world is full of surprises. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're very bad. So, but I think for right now, I can't really think like that. Because of the way we played, and the results he got, and we need the next season to get going to start really assessing. I don't really think it's Ollie all over again, because I do think that it's the only thing that is similar to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Well, there's probably a couple things to a certain degree, but there are some things that are different. Number one, Ole was here dealing with Ed Woodward or Richard Arnold, whichever one it was. I don't, that part, there's a fuzzy line somewhere in between. I think it was actually both of them, if I'm not mistaken. He was dealing with those guys at that time. I do say, whether you like Ineos or not, whether you want them here or not, I do think that they are much better than Ed Woodward and Richard Arnold. Whether that means that they're good enough, but they're definitely better. I like the team that we have right now compared to the team we had at that time, the group of players and how they mix with each other. And, yes, they're both United legends. Yes, they are both, I guess, when they assumed the position, inexperienced managerial-wise. And, maybe if they didn't have any relation to United, they wouldn't necessarily get the opportunity based off of just their CV. But also at the same time, Carrick is not Ollie. Carrick is a different human being. He played a different position. He understands the game differently. He has a different attitude. He has a different personality. So that's why I don't really buy into the Carrick is Ollie all over again. It's the only thing that Ollie and Carrick are two former United players and legends of the football club that have taken over as managers. I don't think Carrick's way will go the same in terms of Ollie, in that it just falls right off of a cliff. Doesn't mean that Carrick's gonna ultimately succeed by winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues, but I just think that it's different. I don't consider them the same. Because they're not even the same players. Access 6-7 players, yeah, I fell for that one. I think we moved on from that. Thankfully. I just do not have faith in Carrick nor the board, but when it goes wrong, Carrick will be in the firing line. Well, listen, they're actually, I tell you this, Ineos are playing actually a bit of a dangerous game, because you say when it goes wrong, Carrick will be in the firing line. But the thing is, Michael Carrick is a legend of the club. So unlike how we seen it go with Ruben Amorim, which was still very divided in the fan base, it was still very split. But the amount of sort of animosity that was there towards Ruben, and less so, I guess, sort of on the hierarchy, I don't think they'll get that favorite. They won't get that split like that, because they've already made sort of what people view as two bad decisions managerial-wise. And if Carrick gets sacked and it fails, well, people are still going to have some sort of a compassion and a bit of a soft spot for Michael Carrick because of who he is. And most of the anger will probably end up going back to them. So, Richard says, I can tell you Carrick will not be sacked until the end of his contract. Well, listen, I mean, I feel like that could be a thing too. I mean, they were very reluctant to sack Ruben Amorim, regardless of results. So, I mean, you know, if you're carrying that over, then you could probably say that, yeah. Because I mean, you know, it's a bit hard to do kind of worse than Ruben, unless you know, it's December and Manchester United are in 18th place under Carrick, which I just don't see that happening. You know what I mean? So he is on a short-term contract as well. You know, he's probably on the deal is probably cheaper than probably some other options if we had them. If they do sack him, maybe it's not going to cost them as much money. But I don't think they're also in. I don't think that they are. They don't really want to be basically pissing away any more money on sacking people, and paying termination fees, because they did it twice already, and they don't even really want to do that. The first time they were like, "We'll do it because we've made a mistake and we're willing to own up to it, and we need to move in a different direction." This one with Ruben, they literally didn't want to do it, but he sort of forced their hand with the comments. So I think they would be very reluctant, because I do think they view it as a waste of money. They do view it as a waste of money, you know. So they're not managers, they're head coaches. That is the difference. Well, I guess so. That is true. But on the flip side, I mean, that's what they want. You know, Ineos has made it quite clear the position is called head coach. It's not even a managerial position on the contract / paper. And they've made it quite clear that they want a head coach. And Michael Carrick actually, like you're saying, does fit that bill. So, you know, maybe it works, because maybe they're right. You know, maybe they're right. Maybe they're right to install this head coach and do this head coach thing. You know, maybe they are right. I mean, we don't know, because it's still being played out. So we got to see how it goes. Yes, he got sacked because he spoke out. Part of Michael's contract is that he has no compensation if he is sacked. Is that true? I did not know that. I did not know that. I had no clue. That's a bit crazy. In terms of, I mean, I can kind of understand. Carrick is a United guy, and you know, probably a bunch of us would do that because we just want to help the club that we love, right? So, I mean, it doesn't necessarily surprise me, but at the same time, I kind of look at it and say, well, you know what though? But if they fuck you over, Carrick, you know, and they don't do what's right, it's kind of a bit messed up. I mean, you should probably get some sort of compensation, because ultimately you're going to lose your job, and it could very well be because these people that are in charge and above you basically fucked you over, and you know, that is a bit unfair. But yeah. A manager has more of a say on transfers. They do. But football is changing. And you know, Bayern Munich have have a similar setup. Vincent Kompany is a head coach. Vincent Kompany is not a manager at Bayern Munich. He is a head coach. And there's a couple other clubs out there that do have head coaches and not managers. And the managers, the people that take those positions, the new generation, they are sort of changing as well. You know, the traditional Sir Alex Ferguson, I run everything, Pep Guardiola, you know, Luis Enrique type of guys, like those guys are all old. And, at some point they're out, and the younger new generation people that are coming through are a lot of them are actually probably classified a lot more like head coaches. So, football is changing. Well, I don't know what you're going to do to stop that. I mean, that's where it seems like it's trending. So, very true. He offered that because he wanted the job so much. Very reliable source. Well, yeah, I mean, like, that doesn't surprise me from him. I mean, the way he, speaks about the club. I think even him coming to take the job, at the point in time that he did, he did it because he's like, listen, I'm out of a job, and they're sort of in a shit situation. They're not going to really be able to get somebody to come and take over, and I could at least, do a caretaker job. But that's what he, so, he's a good guy. Obviously, I don't know him personally, but, he put out a book. I don't know if he put out more than one, but he put out a book. I read that book. It was a very good book. A lot of insight into who he is as a person, and a human being. And I always respected him too, because he talked a lot about depression, which was sort of the first time that I kind of heard a player, especially him, and one of our legends, that had like all the success. And, you look at him and you would say, how can you struggle with depression? You get paid all this money, you're living the life that, millions dream of and will never be able to do. You achieved so much. What's there to be depressed about? But he openly spoke about it. I always respected him for that. And it was a very good story. So you have the audiobook. Yeah. Yeah. I really like that one. I remember when it came out. You off to the gym today, Eric? Yes, in a little bit though. We have still more of the show to do. So Alonso will be manager of Chelsea. Yeah. Maybe. But I don't know how much power he actually has at Chelsea. I think Chelsea's a bit similar as well. I mean, they clashed over Enzo Maresca over signings and stuff like that. And Xabi Alonso is actually a bit more like a head coach, which is probably what his problem was at Real Madrid. Because a club like Real Madrid, for the players that they have, you need a manager. You don't need a head coach. We don't have those players. So we're on a different path. When you have big inflated egos, massive superstars in the squad, you really need a manager to manage the personalities, to manage the to manage the situations, to manage the personalities, to manage the egos. A head coach, they don't really manage, they train. They coach. Which is probably why Xabi Alonso failed. Because he's not a manager. Yeah, depression and about thought patterns, not about how much one owns. Well, yeah, I mean, but I'm saying when he released it, I was still fairly young, so I wasn't mature enough to really understand the thing. I just was like, depression. I was like 14 or something, or whatever, 18, 16. I don't remember when it came out, but I was like depressed. I was like, how? I didn't really understand how that stuff worked. So, are you on that chewing gum and energy drinks? No, that's nicotine pouch. It's a nicotine pouch. I use them so I don't smoke. Okay, but listen, we do still have a couple other updates, all right? Now, as I was just saying before, and then I'll check for any updates that have come out, because I'm sure there's probably some updates that came out since we've gone live that I have not seen yet and I did not cover. But as I was just speaking about, that, they said that United midfield rebuild, left winger, and a left back. Okay. Well, one of the players that could potentially be a maybe a target seems a little bit pricey to a certain degree. It is also a player playing in the Bundesliga, and it is coming from Bild. And I will advise a bit of just, an advisory, I guess, a little bit of caution, because I don't really particularly like the stories that come out of the Bundesliga. They don't really materialize to anything for us. And usually, I mean, Bill does report a lot of these, but it always kind of feels like our name, they love to use our name in Germany. And the link is like, there's no substance to it, but they love to use our name in Germany. And then either Bayern ends up taking the player or he ends up signing a new contract. Usually one of the two. So Manchester United are reportedly keen on Nathaniel Brown after his impressive season at Eintracht Frankfurt, with the German club expected to demand between 60 million to 80 million euros. Now, Nathaniel Brown is obviously English. No, he's German. Wait. Oh no, he is German. I thought he was English. He's German. Okay, he plays in the Bundesliga, of course, in Frankfurt. All right, he can play. Mainly plays left back, but he can also play left midfield, which, at the very least, for Manchester United, that sort of fits the bill. If they're going to get somebody, they would like him to be able to play left back and left wing. And left wing is a secondary option. They want the versatility. We know that for sure. I am seeing here that Bayern Munich does have a significant interest in him publicly, so that the public believe that Bayern Munich 42% will go in for him. So, as I was just saying, they love to use our name, and either he ends up at Bayern or he signs a new contract. They very rarely come to us from the Bundesliga. But at the very least, positionally wise, and I guess versatility wise, it does line up. Now, he mainly plays left back, so he had about 33 appearances in the Bundesliga, and he had 4 goals, 4 assists from left back. And secondary position left mid. So, I don't know. I mean, sometimes these stories are a bit of a one-off, and you don't hear about them for weeks on end, or never again. And they just never pop back up. So, let's keep one eye on it and see, if anything develops, or maybe it comes back around later on when we, sort of sort out the midfield and we start looking more seriously at this position. He does have about 4 years, or it's going to be 3 years left on 4 years left on his contract. So I could see why it goes. He is 22 years of age. But they stand to make a good amount of money. Listen, I think they paid 3 million euros for this guy. So they're looking to sell him for 60 to 80 million. Transfer market price, which isn't the most accurate, but it's free. They list him at 40 million. So, but with the Bayern interest there, I wouldn't be surprised if our name is being used, because they're probably trying to get the most money from Bayern, and Bayern always steals all the players from all the other teams in the Bundesliga. They run that. So, I won't be surprised if somewhere later down the line, this kid is signed for Bayern Munich. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think I told this story before. Players were superstars, and I was in my early 20s. I used to have a pint with Harry Gregg. I asked him, tell me about Munich, as the tears rolled down his face. Don't. If I'm a manager, I would tell Jadon Sancho, Xerxes Ugarte, you're getting new club because you don't fit our club Premier League. But Jadon Sancho is not our player anymore. Lucky. Jadon Sancho is not our player anymore, so we don't have to tell him anything. Brown is pretty bad. I watched a bit this season, and he stood. Wait, Brown is pretty bad? Do you mean bad in a good way or bad in a bad way? I watched a bit of this season, and he stood out as well as Larson. I'm gonna assume you mean he's pretty bad in a good way, like he's bad, like not like he's shit, but he's bad, like he's a bad man, bad man. Mazzawari, Brian, and Buemo not for sale. Well, I was actually about to update that, so you steal my thunder, Lucky. So there was a couple more things, okay? Moving on, one of the things, The Athletic came out with a report today saying Carrick wants, okay? And some of you aren't going to be happy about the first player, I guess. But this report coming from The Athletic, Michael Carrick wants Mason Mount and Noose Mazzawari to stay at Manchester United, valuing their versatility and importance to squad depth ahead of the club's return to European football. We did talk about this. Listen, Maz, sure. I mean, we don't really, Maz sort of explains himself. He could play right back. He could play center back. I think we've seen him used as a number 10 one time. Let's never do that again. All right. But, potentially, I think he's played center defensive mid a few times as well. So he does have versatility. Obviously, he has more ideal positions. But we like Maz. We signed him for a good price. We're going to need him for sure next season. And he's been a good player. He didn't play a lot or as much maybe this season as the previous season with the lack of games. But, specifically, we went to Chelsea. We were away from home at Stamford Bridge. Maz not really starting many matches, not playing many minutes, goes in at center back, had a fantastic game. So he's a very useful, very reliable player. Mason Mount obviously is the one that is a bit of an issue because the guy hasn't been able to stay fit, which isn't very useful to us. I do think, and I have been saying, if the guy could figure out how to stay fit, he is at least at minimum a good squad player to have. Also, it seems to be that, listen, whoever it may be, I mean, they do rate his ability. So, Ruben rated him very highly. It appears Michael Carrick rates him very highly. His biggest issue and problem for me has never been his ability. It's always been his availability. So, I also kind of think, and I'll just put this out there, like The Athletic can report whatever they want, and maybe it is true. I'm not saying that it isn't true. I think two things could be true at once, but Michael Carrick could absolutely want Mason Mount to stay at United and value Mason Mount's versatility. We've seen him being used in the center mid next to Kobe. We know he can play number 10. We have seen him go out on the wing at times. So he does have that aspect of versatility. We can put him in a few different positions. But I will probably also add that even as much as Michael Carrick would like to keep him, there is also the other side of the story that, well, he can't really stay healthy. So there isn't any significant interest in him. So we won't actually be able to move him on, whether Carrick wants him or not. He's probably one of these players, again, by default, that we have to try and use and make them come good and, make them part of the squad that we can actually use. So, bad isn't good. The more players they keep, the less they have to sign. Well, yes, in a way, it is true. But again, I always go for a nice balance. I think, listen, there are people out there and they will scream and shout at me and yell about standards and all this stuff. And, I try to level with them and I'm like, I understand. I'm not asking you to say, accept this as our best and just, live with it for the rest of your lives. I never make that argument. But what I will say is we do need to strike a balance. Okay? I think Liverpool, because they are the best example. I know nobody likes me to use Liverpool as an example because we're Manchester United. But as a football example, Liverpool spent 500 million, signed a bunch of players, top names, and they had a shit season. And it went horribly wrong. And I think they signed too many players, and it didn't gel very well. And it didn't mix very well, and it took them way too long to actually start performing decently well, because it took them months and months. I mean, they were horrible for large parts of the season. They sort of picked it up a little bit at the end, where they were pretty decent. And I view the same thing. Like, just because the amount of money that we spend does not guarantee the success. We've been through that before, where we've blown loads of money on players and they were dog shit. And they were absolute failures. So, money amount is not a direct correlation to automatic spending. At the same time, bringing in 7 and 8 players and replacing 6 to 7 to 8 players in your team is also not very helpful. We may need it, but to do it all at one time, I think is actually very counterproductive. And in fact, I think it would hurt us more than help us, because that's a lot of changes. So, again, nice balance, I think, is always the best option. You don't have to overdo it. We don't want them to underdo it. But a nice balance. 5 players, 6 players. I don't think you can really do any more much than that. I think if you do, and you start swapping people out, and you know, you're getting Maz out and you're getting this guy out, and now you're going and you're buying 2, 3 extra players and you're bringing them in. That's a lot of players that need to get sort of accustomed to the team, the tactics, life as a Manchester United player. You know, I think it's a bit too disruptive. So, Maz, I'm not selling. Been able to play fullback, midfield, center back. Renault says, all right, folks, have a good weekend. Eric, gym time, baby boy. Let's get it. Yeah. Nice, bro. Go have a good workout. We'll be live again tomorrow. Oh, shit. There's the Champions League, actually, yeah? There's the Champions League final. And that's probably... What time is it at? Is it at the time we do our show? No, it's at 12. All right, yo. You know, well, after the Champions League, we'll probably go live, since the Champions League is at 12 o'clock my time. So we should be live again tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. UK time, 3:30 p.m. my time. We'll be live again. So if you're around, Renoso, pop in, or anybody else. Axe says, okay, good night, Glee. I mean, I'm not getting off just yet. I'm just giving people an update. So I'm not getting off yet. Just anybody that's leaving, I'm letting you know. You know, I'm not getting off. We still got a little bit more to talk about. We got at least a good 15 minutes left in the show. A nice glass of peace snaps with just a touch of soda, my favorite drink. Haven't not drank 20 years. What is it with the females and the like the schnapps and the air, what are they called? The aerosol, not aerosol, spirits, whatever those things are. What is it? What is it about that? Aperol spritz, or whatever they're called. They love those things. I don't know what they are. I've never had them. I don't think I want one, but the females love those things. Don't know what it is. New buys. PSG to win. Well, I'm a bit worried. I'll tell you why. I do think PSG is the better team. I still think PSG will win, but as somebody that is familiar with sports gambling, okay, if you go look at the bets being placed on that match, there is a significantly insane amount of money being betted on PSG. And I don't like that, because the public never beats the house. And, you know, as much as we like to think that football is an honest game, a lot of the sports have some sort of rigging in it. And I'm a bit worried. I mean, I saw somebody showing the amount of money and bets placed on PSG. And I'm like, I don't like that because they'll match fix it and steal everybody's money. It's way too lopsided. Way too lopsided. So I'm a bit worried about that. I could see some sort of a, controversial penalty, controversial set piece, non-call call. So I don't know about that one. I tell you this right now. If you're a gambler, if you're gonna put money on it, I'd be just, I'd be a little bit be a bit cautious, because it seems like it's being set up for everybody that's betting ridiculous amounts of money. I've seen people put in 100,000 on PSG. So I think they're ready to rob everybody. I do. Now, to tie up little loose ends, okay? There's one update, Baleba, one update on Ugarte, one update financially wise. So let me just hit this. Okay. Now, I don't know about this source. Okay, it's a Turkish source. I have absolutely no clue how credible this Turkish source is. But considering that it has to do with the Turkish club, I guess it's worth mentioning at the very least. So, Galatasaray have stepped up their pursuit of Manuel Ugarte and made him a priority target. Manchester United are asking for around 28 million euros, with the Turkish club seriously exploring a deal. So, this has been reported for, quite a bit of time, especially since January, that Galatasaray has been sort of a very interested party in Manuel Ugarte, and it has continued here and there for over the past, essentially, 6 months. And now is the time for it to actually transpire. So I do think he's 100% no future at the club. Hopefully, Galatasaray really actually seriously go in for him and actually do buy him. They do like sort of South American players. They have signed Uruguayans and stuff in the past. They do sort of like to get South Americans over there and bring them to Turkey. So, not that means much anything, but it has happened before. So I hope this sort of transpires, and becomes like a serious ongoing thing that ends up getting completed, because he does need to go. We need the money. And we got Ederson coming in, and maybe Mateus Fernandes or an Alex Scott or something like that. It does seem like Mateus Fernandes is next, and then ultimately we got to get our cherry on top signing, get the midfield done, and move. So with the sale of Ugarte, that'll help too. So we can continue to move. We'll bring in a little bit more money, and we'll be able to use that money to go turn around and spend it on whoever else we need to spend it on. So there's that. And then we also had this update. I did say in the very early of the show that there was sort of a bit of an update on Carlos Baleba. This has come from the same lady that works for The Sun and is apparently a Manchester United correspondent for The Sun. Her name is Catherine Walsh. I know it's The Sun, but she has reported that Manchester United's interest in Carlos Baleba appears to have cooled, with the clubs apart on the transfer fee. I will say this. I don't know about the transfer fee, but we're not really getting any significant sort of news on the Carlos Baleba thing. I have been saying this for a while. It does seem like that it has cooled to a certain degree. I don't think it's cooled today. I think it's cooled basically over the last few months. At one point, I think it was January, very strong, big updates, daily updates. since that point, since Ruben's gone, and since we started moving closer and closer, Baleba has been kept around in being mentioned, but he doesn't seem to be as prioritized or deemed as important as some of these other targets. He does seem to be down the pecking order. He does seem to be one that they're like, we'll do the deal if we can't get A, B, C done. So, to a certain degree, I do sort of believe that. I don't think it's like necessarily like she's cracked the case wide open, she's given us something new. I think I could have made that update because I've been making that update. I've been talking about it for like the past several shows that's what I do believe. So, if my name was my name and I had an account that just said football reporter for the Daily Mail at Manchester United, and I just went on my Twitter and wrote Manchester United's interest in Carlos Baleba appears to have cooled. Here's your transfer update. I mean, it's not anything like Baleba, I didn't contact anybody at United. It's just kind of what we're seeing. It's a bit sort of common sense right now. If Baleba was really that hot of a player for us, we would be going in for him. We wouldn't be trying to get 2-3 other players ahead of him. So, that said that no Baleba and Ugarte is not for sale. They said that no Baleba and Ugarte is not for sale. Well, Ugarte has to be for sale. How big is football, Malta? It's massive. It's the only sport. But I mean, like, how good is it? I mean, it's not good. It's not good. We're way too small of a country. We do have like a professional league, but I mean, when you stack it up to the other countries around the world, it's the level of it is probably like, at best semi-pro. Even the professional league, and then we have our own semi-pro. So, I mean, the quality isn't very good, but football in general throughout the country, it's like basically behind being a Catholic country, because they're still a very super Catholic country. It's basically a second religion. So, very tribalism, football tribalism. Yeah, it's basically like the second most important thing in life over there. So, yeah, I don't think his name will be at the top of the list unless we miss all these targets, which then I can see that happening. But, we'll see. Now, I am looking to see if we got any other updates while I was live, because we've been live for almost 2 hours now, so you never know. Some updates, sometimes they just pop up while we are live, and sometimes they are quite good. Sometimes we don't get anything, so let's just check it out. Scrolling. Okay, is one. This seems very fringe. Apparently, Manchester United are now actively tracking Botafogo center midfielder Danilo. He is in Carlo Ancelotti's squad for the 2026 World Cup. Botafogo won't rush into a sale because they believe his transfer value could increase immensely after the tournament. Well, how coincidental for you that this player that you have, who has somehow managed, because he plays in the Brazilian league, okay, has managed to make the World Cup and Ancelotti's squad, is now being linked to Manchester United and is also going to play in the World Cup. How lucky you must be, because I'm sure that they would love nothing more. Brazilian clubs don't have any money, so if they could ever do a deal for a player that they have and sell them for 60, 70, 80 million. Those guys are throwing a party for a month straight. I sort of hate those updates. It's like this guy that nobody's ever heard of. They'll mention us once. We'll never hear about it again, and it'll never transpire. So, not really interested in that, but was reported. On this day in 1968, Sir Matt Busby's Manchester United became the first English side to win the European Cup. So, that is today, anniversary of today. Didn't even know that was today, but shout out to the boys. So actually nothing has well, hold on. Yep, nothing of significance has come out. A bunch of pictures, players walking around. Apparently there is a hot take here. Somebody has said that they gave Carrick a midfielder who's the complete opposite of everything he stood for as a player. No amount of mental gymnastics will convince me that this guy, Ederson, is good. I've watched the tapes, tried to stay positive, but he generally looks awful, man. Wilcox has already failed us. You've watched the... See, nah, I don't believe this guy. You've watched the tapes. What tapes, bro? What tape? Hold on. First of all, it's 2026. Why are you watching tapes? What tapes are you watching? And also, what do? You watching highlight reels? You watching cut up videos of players, and you making your determination on cut up videos? Okay. I don't really buy your opinion, but all right. Yep, some United fans have already turned on the deal with criticism aimed directly at Director of Football Jason Wilcox. Well, listen, if he turns out to be a shit player, I mean, it does have to go on Jason Wilcox. Because obviously it's the wrong buy. But I don't think you can really attack Jason Wilcox right now, again, until this guy puts on a kit and we watch him play for United and see what he gives us. Like, let's give the guy a chance. Let's give the signing a chance. But let's see him play for Manchester United. Because again, as much as I respect fan opinion, bro, people were telling me we got to get Frimpong. Look what he did at Liverpool. Shit. Okay? So, and there's loads of examples like that, but bro, people were going nuts for Frimpong. We need Frimpong. We need Frimpong. We need Frimpong. Frimpong went to Liverpool. People watched him play at Liverpool, and then everybody shut their mouth about Frimpong and never mentioned him again because they watched him play. They realized they were wrong about Frimpong. He was not the baller that everybody was saying that he was going to be if we bring him to Manchester United. They actually saw that he was playing quite shit, and they were like, yeah, I need to stop talking about that because that was a really bad opinion, and now I'm going to look stupid. And people are afraid to look stupid sometimes. So everybody shut their mouth about Frimpong. They never mentioned him again. I said the same thing the other day about Baleba. When Baleba was first mentioned to us, last summer window, at the end, 90% of the fan base was jumping up and down, ready to give up all their godly possessions to sign Baleba. He had a bad season this season, and everybody's like, he's shit. And if we get Baleba, it's a disgrace. So, you want to have your opinion? Fine. But I'm not going to buy into that until I see the guy play, and then I'll make my determination. I'm not jumping on this train very early saying Ederson because he's cheap. And I watched a couple clips on him on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and he doesn't, I don't rate him or whatever, so I'm just going to say it's a shit signing. Before, we didn't even actually sign him yet. Also, he's not even actually signed yet. And I'm not going to come out and say, well, he's a shit signing and Wilcox sucks and he made a shit signing. Bro, I've seen people be wrong all the time. So, are there any players from Malta in the Prem? No, absolutely not. No, there's no way we would ever be good enough to do such a thing. There is one player that plays in League One. And that's probably the best achievement as a nation that we've had. We used to have a player that played in the championship up until recently. That was the highest point any one of our players ever made it. But yeah, I mean, the rest of them, they play for teams you've never heard of in your life and probably never will. Dan says, people keep blaming individuals in the recruitment staff, i.e. Wilcox, but every signing has to be agreed by everyone. People do the ISS, people know that the players, people do that, do the statistic. I lost it in the last part. But, well, ultimately, they do need, I mean, it's a bit of a weird dynamic. They do need to agree, but I don't know how they necessarily run it because Jason is, essentially Jason is in the position where he is pretty much the rest of their bosses. So, you know, and he is probably leading it. So I don't know. I guess, you know, since he's in charge of the recruitment stuff, and he's running the show, ultimately the blame will fall on him because he's at the top of it, right? Like Vavel works under him, and whatever other people work under him, like they work under him. He's the one that's setting the standards. He's setting the operations. He's setting the way that it's operating and stuff like that. So if it's not producing results, well, ultimately he is sort of the boss man on that. So he, you know, if you have that much responsibility and that much power, ultimately, if it doesn't go well, you know, sure, those people, maybe they fucked up too, but, you know, you're the main figurehead. You're the one that's going to catch all the heat for it, which is typically how it goes. Same will happen with Diomande. To be fair, Frank, continent players are right wing back for Liverpool. He isn't just allowed to go forward like a wing, with less pressure than a wing. Yeah, but he still played like shit though. I'm not saying he needed to score and get a bunch of assists, but even defensively. So, you know, I don't know. What did they buy him for? If he's not allowed to go forward, which is what he was good at, and he can't do that, and he ain't a very good defender because everybody knows that. His thing was he wasn't an excellent defender. He is like a right wing back. He's an attacking right back. So what they buy him for? You know. So I don't know. They fucked that one up. They wanted more of a right back, and they wanted somebody that wasn't allowed to go forward, but they shouldn't have signed Frank Bonk. You're limiting the guy. But I'm just saying, like, he didn't have a very good season. He didn't look that very good. I think generally, if you ask most people, no matter what I think no matter what team they support, if you watched him throughout the season, people are like, yeah, he ain't nothing special. You know, we've seen him play in the Prem. He didn't look very good. That is fair. 1 year ago, Baleba, people's exact quotes were, if you need to pay 120 million, do it. It is the perfect profile. Half a bad season. But that's what I'm saying. So, you know, I don't jump into this. I don't do this. I don't do this thing that, you know, other people do. I could probably do it because it makes for an excellent clip. And I could probably repost it on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and fucking every social media platform under the sun, and get people pissed off, and or have them agree with me, and then have everybody fighting in the comments, which is only positive for me because it gets me comments and it gets me interaction and it boosts the post so more people see it. And I could probably sit here, stare into the camera, and just say, yeah, Ederson is dog shit. He cost 35 million. Bro isn't even in the Brazil squad. Like, Wilcox is, shit at his job. And Sejim sucks. And the whole scouting fucking thing, these guys suck. And, Carrick was a fantastic player. And they signed him, this dog shit Anderson, who couldn't even touch his fucking, cleats. I could do some bullshit like that, but that's not me, bro. Like, I want to watch the guy play. There's been too many instances for me. I've learned my lesson, because they used to be players that we got that I didn't really know much about in terms of, personally, as me, I knew who they were, but I didn't watch them. I didn't watch them a lot, okay? I couldn't sit there and say, oh, I've seen that guy play like numerous times. I know exactly how his game is. There was a bunch of players we signed, and I learned very much the hard way, because I'm going online. I'm seeing people telling me this guy is generational. This guy is a baller. This guy is the answer to all our problems. This guy, if we got to pay 150 million, pay 200 million, pay 250 million, get it done. He's going to be an absolute legend. Okay? And I'm sitting there looking at all this reaction from our fan base, and I'm like, all right. I was like, I don't really know, but everybody seems to be pretty damn convinced that this guy is going to be like fucking magnificent. So I'm like, all right. So now I'm sitting there, and we signed the player, and I'm like, all right, well, we got him. So I'm ready to see. And then I see him, and then I'm like, what the fuck was everybody talking about? What were they talking about? Because they were so fucking wrong. They were so far off. And so I learned my lessons with that shit. I said, no. I said, listen, from now on, I judge the player when they put the kit on and they get onto our pitch. That's when I judge the player. For the most part. Because it is a different story. All right? Like Jadon Sancho, for example, balled out. Borussia Dortmund was looking hot. Okay? Came to United. Dog shit. Disaster of a signing. Horrible. Okay? Absolute monumental of a failure. Was nothing like it. It's a different story when you put on that United kit. It's a different story when you play for us. So, they can do whatever they want somewhere else. I wait to see them put on a United kit. You just made me smile. But Wilcox and Barada, who decide who the signings will be? Well, I mean, only they can tell us. I don't know. They say they do it as a committee. It's I can't explain it because I'm not running it. I don't really understand exactly how it works because it's to me it's a bit confusing. They do it as a committee. They do it as a whole. They got to agree. But then at the same time, like Omar is the CEO. And Wilcox is the director of football. The CEO has power over all of them, including Wilcox. But Wilcox has power over Vivel and the rest of them. So if he wants, he could overrule them. So I don't really know how that dynamic actually works. You know what I mean? I don't know how they come to a point where they, because what happens if there's like 6 of them? All right, let's just say there's 6 of them making these decisions. I'm sure there's probably more, and it goes down like a ladder, but like a pyramid. Okay, but let's just say there's 6 of them, and there's 4 players that are an option, and so at least all 6 of them, they've all picked a different guy, except for maybe like 2 of them. So it's quite split. So what I would like to know is how they narrow it down, and then how do they end up getting to a point where they make a decision? Because ultimately, there's one guy that probably rates one player, and maybe he doesn't really rate the other players. But when they narrow it down, it might be a player between two players that he doesn't rate at all. So how are you making this decision? That's where I don't understand how it works. And I won't know how it works because they're not going to explain it to us. They explain it very vaguely. So, all they've really said is that we have to all agree and it's a committee, but they don't explain the process. So I don't tend to, whatever. They seem to be doing it. Just, I don't really care. Get it done and make sure you make the right call. Whatever it is. Apparently, there are reports that Lewis Hall is unhappy at Newcastle, and that Manchester United would be interested in signing him. Well, I don't know. I mean, that is another option at that sort of left back, left wing, versatile, can do both positions type of signing. I don't know. Newcastle, I mean, they seem like they're ready to go raise a whole lot of funds. And then it's going to be interesting to see, I mean, who they're going to buy in replacement. Because Lewis Hall ain't going to go for cheap. Tonali's going to be sold. They just sold Gordon. That's significant amount of money. So I don't really know. How that's going to transpire. So let me see if I pull something extra on that. Let me see. Lewis Hall. I think it was trending earlier. By the way, thank you everybody that smashed the like button. Greatly appreciated. If you haven't done so already, please do, because it's massive help to the video and the channel. And if you're new and you enjoy the content, make sure you're subscribing and you're hitting the notification bell icon. If you are new and you did subscribe and hit the notification bell icon, thank you. Welcome to the family. Good to have you here. And we look forward to speaking with you. Yeah, Laurie Whitwell on Lewis Hall. I think he is a player that interests Manchester United. He also said, we've seen recent reports of Lewis Hall, and he is a player that interests United. The Gordon thing is linked to that, maybe, as it shows that Newcastle it shows what Newcastle wants for these players. And with Hall, Tonali, what price they'd accept. It feels like Newcastle will have to make some difficult decisions on sales to rejuvenate their squad. Like Gordon, Hall hasn't been in the team all the time, especially recently under Howe. United might look at that and think there's an opportunity. Well, maybe there is. So, maybe there is. Also on Alex Scott, I think Laurie Whitwell gave us an update on Alex Scott. Yeah. He did say so Fabrizio. Well, actually, there's a couple things here. I'll make sure that's the real Fabrizio. So apparently Fabrizio said that Bournemouth have already offered a new deal to Alex Scott, as they want the midfielder to stay. They said clear desire by new manager Marco Rose. Scott seen as crucial player. Now, Laurie Whitwell also speak on Alex Scott, saying he's somebody United are looking at as well, similar to Mateus Fernandes. They're exploring the financial demands on that one. He also, Andy Mitten, also saying United like Alex Scott as well. Bournemouth have no intention of selling though. And we did get an update about 6 hours ago. This came from Team Talk saying Manchester United's hopes of signing Alex Scott have suffered a major setback. Bournemouth are pushing hard to tie the midfielder down to a new long-term contract and remain determined to keep him despite strong interest from United, Chelsea, and several other Premier League clubs. The Cherries value Scott at 60 million plus, and with Europa League football secured, are under no pressure to sell this summer. So, just a big difference. I mean, I think Alex Scott and Mateus Fernandes are two targets that are quite similar to each other in that, maybe transfer price, positionally, of course, and similarly a bit in age as well, and sort of this the place where they would fit. The big difference, obviously, is that Bournemouth have done quite well in their season. They've got Europa League secured. They're under absolutely zero pressure to sell. They don't need, the money from Scott. Whereas, obviously, the big difference for West Ham is they got relegated. They were already sort of looking to raise funds before they got relegated, and now they need to raise more funds because they got relegated. So, in the tipping of scales, it does seem like Mateus Fernandes, and they probably go for around the same price, but it seems like Mateus Fernandes is the easier deal to do, and probably the more likely deal to do, considering that Bournemouth aren't looking to sell him, while West Ham are looking to sell Mateus Fernandes. Mateus Fernandes is looking to leave. Alex Scott, maybe, he can kind of pick either way. I think he's kind of like, I don't think he's really made a decision. I mean, would he probably like to go to a bigger club like Manchester United? Sure, but maybe, he would like to stay at Bournemouth for a little bit longer or something. So, there's that. What is the language of Malta? Maltese. My point is there's no point in blaming one individual for a mistake or decision made by multiple people. It's not for fun. Liverpool's transfer window last season shows me you can spend a lot of money and spend a lot on individuals, but there are no guarantee. Well, there is never any guarantee, absolutely. And I've been making that argument for quite a long time. I'm like, I mean, you don't even have to look at Liverpool. You could literally look at ourselves. We wasted a shit ton of money on players that were horrible, that didn't work out for us, that were failures. Like, we blew through £1 billion and got nothing back in return. So, this is where I tell people, like, because some people, they go really far off to this end. They go really far off. Oh, we should be spending 350 million. Ineos are disgrace, and why aren't we spending 450 million? They get all crazy. Oh, why are we signing the likes of Ederson for 35 million? We should be signing somebody for 150 million. We should be signing Tonali and Elliot Anderson and Tchouaméni for a total value of 400 million. And it's like, okay, but you do understand that doesn't guarantee that it means it's going to work. It doesn't, signing all those players might sound good coming out of your mouth. It might sound good on paper, but it doesn't mean that it's going to gel well. It doesn't mean that it's the right balance. And spending all that money doesn't guarantee that midfield is absolutely brilliantly solid either. There's prime examples of that everywhere. Everywhere. Liverpool is the most recent example. We have our own situation of that, where we spent a shit ton of money and we got nothing back in it. So yes, it is important to spend money, but just by purely spending money does not guarantee that things are going to be A-okay, and that they are the correct decision, and that they are the decision that's going to yield the best results. So, but ultimately, I mean, for Wilcox, he is the next one up. So, he is the face, okay, of this thing, and him and Omar will catch all the blame. And it's just the way it is. And, we don't know the other people besides Vivell. They're not mentioned. They're not talked about. We don't see their faces. So it comes with the job. It just is what it is. It's Wilcox And I think actually, like myself, a lot of people like Vavell. They rate Vavell. He has a very good proven track record. I actually think Vavell is probably the best football person we have at the club, but he's not the one with the most power. But I can tell you 110% guaranteed, if they don't get things right and things fail and collapse, Carrot gets sacked or whatever it is, we go backwards. It's all of it is going to Jason Wilcox and Omar Barada. And most likely it'll be definitely more Wilcox than Barada. Barada will definitely catch some flack. But I tell you, if we go backwards and we end up in a very negative place and it's really bad, I can almost guarantee you Jason Wilcox will be the guy that gets thrown under the bus. I don't know if Omar will go, but at that point, it'll probably be Sajim and Omar. They'll probably end up throwing Jason under the bus for everything and moving forward. And that's just how it rolls. Very cutthroat business. If we get Sandro Tonali, they won't sell Hall as well, too. Well, maybe not. I don't know what their intentions are. I don't know what their intentions are. I mean, you would be a bit hard pressed to see them selling all these kinds of players, but maybe they're okay with selling a couple of these players and taking the money and then reinvesting it and getting different players. And I don't know. Newcastle's got their own plan. Alex Scott has had one good season at Premier League team adapter, but neither one will be Casemiro replacement. They are saying that Ederson is Casemiro's replacement. No. If Ederson plays the same position as Casemiro? Yes. He is a CM center defensive mid. But he is not. That I saw that update. That came from Samuel Luckhurst. But I'm not buying it. He's not Casemiro's replacement. He's not Casemiro's replacement. Because we're going to spend a larger amount of money on somebody that's actually going to be probably the guy starting next to Kobe Mainoo. As I said before, I purely view Ederson and it makes sense. Ederson is a replacement for Ugarte. And whether it be Alex Scott, Mateus Fernandes, or some other guy, they are the midfielder that we have been missing since last summer window that we didn't sign. So, one of those guys is filling the void that we never filled last summer. That's one spot. Ederson is coming in and Ugarte is going out. That's filling the other spot. And then we need the third guy that's actually going to fill Casemiro's spot. And that is the guy that's going to cost us the most money because they have the most potential and supposedly supposed to have the better ability. So, yeah. A few years ago, Manchester City were buying players for 40-50 million while other teams were spending 80 to 90 million on players. City could then sell the plays and get new ones if they didn't work. And that's exactly what we need to be doing for the most part. And I think that's what Ineos has sort of set out to do since they've come here. And Barada came from there. He's brung a little bit of that blueprint. Wilcox also worked for them, worked for City at one point as well. And, numerous amounts of clubs have done that. Stealing players from other Premier League clubs for easier transitions. A little bit less risky. Still risk, but a little bit less risky. And also, signing players for a certain amount and not really going over that for a certain period. So you minimize the risk. Because, you go throughout a couple years, you spend 100 million here, 100 million there, 120 million on this guy, 100, it starts adding up. That player didn't work out. We lost 40 million from him. That player didn't work out. We lost 60 million. That player worked out. We lost, 50 million. Right there, that's a whole nother like 2-3 players we could have actually bought that we can't buy now because we got players that didn't work out. They're not as good as we needed them to be. So we're not as good as we thought we were going to be. And, and now we don't have the money to go buy them. So. Ugarte replacement is Ederson. May no competition backup is Mateus Fernandes. And Casemiro replacement is Tuchemani Anderson. / Tonali, I would say. I would add. But yes, that's what I agree with. And that's how I see it. And I think that's exactly what it needs to be. And I think if it's anything other than that, then it's not good enough. It's not good enough. And there's really no way for them to spin it anyway. So, they could try. I don't think they can try though. I actually don't think they can because I don't think that there's a winning. There's no way for them to finagle out of that. I mean, there's just absolutely no way for them to get around that. So, everybody knows what it is. There's no way you could get Ederson and say, yeah, this is Casemiro's replacement and pass him off as such. Nobody's buying it. Nobody even looks at him like that as it is right now. A lot of us are happy with the signing. We like the fee. We think he could add some quality. We're okay with it. Some people don't rate him and think he's shit. But there is absolutely nobody in this Manchester United fan base that has said that he is more than a, squad player at the very least for now coming in. So there's no way for them, even if they wanted to, which I don't believe that they're trying to, but if they wanted to, for the conspiracy theorists out there, there's absolutely no way they would be able to spin that story. There's just no way. There's no way. So, Ederson is absolutely and must be replacement for Ugarte. There's just no other way to get around it. Maino is our starter, and he's going to be starting, and there will be backup / competition, whether it's Mateus Fernandes, Alex Scott, or somebody else. And then Casemiro replacement has to be somebody of a big name with a big talent. Anderson, Tuchemani, Tonali. Fourth option, Baleba. Because after Tuchemani, Anderson, and Tonali, there's really nobody that's like that top tier really left. I think Baleba is the next one up after that. So, it is what it is. Listen, we are gonna get out of here though. Okay. I want to thank everybody for the support. Thank you to everybody that has smashed the like button. I think we absolutely smashed it again. And we did. We got 30. I think if I'm seeing here correctly, I think we got 39 likes. All right. I lost the poll. I wanted to look at this poll because some people lied to me. Okay. See, we got people lying in the poll. I asked in the poll, have you hit the like button? All right. And 54 people voted. And 94% of people said yes. And 6% of people said doing it now. And we only have 39 likes. Why you guys gotta lie to me? Don't lie, man. Don't lie. Don't lie. I mean, I appreciate you voting the poll. They're probably not even here, these people. They probably just hit the thing and left. But 54 people voted and said that they hit the like button or were going to do it. And, oh, I'm sorry. It just updated on my screen. It's 46. So very little of you lied, all right? Actually, it's very encouraging. So I appreciate that. We only had a couple liars. I thought it was like way more. Only a couple liars. So, we will be live tomorrow after the Champions League game at 8:15 p.m. UK. This is American time here on the screen. Okay, I can never get that right. This right here is American time, so don't get that confused if you're anywhere else in the world. Okay, so 8:15 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. UK time tomorrow. We'll be back live covering any of the transfer stuff. We'll talk about the UCL somewhere, and the result of it. And hopefully, we'll be laughing at Arsenal, losing because they really do think that they're going to win it. And, I really hope they don't because, Premier League is enough. They don't deserve a European trophy. They're not allowed to have that, they can't have it. So, Yeah, and then we'll probably be live Sunday as well at the same time. We'll wrap up the week as strong as we can, and then Monday I have to travel, and you know, Tuesday I'll see if I'll be able to get in the stream. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do such a thing. Maybe Wednesday, Thursday. I'm preoccupied. I have the funeral, so Thursday is not the day. And I'll keep you guys updated. I'm getting too far ahead, all right? But anyway, thank you to all the brand new. Look, we're at 3,380 now. I mean, we've made crazy progress with the subscribers. So shout out to all the new people subscribing. Appreciate you guys being here. Love every single one of you. Shout out to the day ones, and the constants and the consistent support from the people that are always here, that have been here for a long time, that have been holding it down. Appreciate all of you. It's been insane. It's been insane. I mean, I've been doing this for 2 years. It's been a very sort of tough grind. I was always never able to go over 300 views. Very rarely. Once in a red moon, we do like 800. Now, the past couple shows, fingers crossed that it continues, but we've been at least breaking 1,000 plus. Going to 2,000, 3,000. So, I mean, this is like exactly where I kind of wanted to be for a really long time. So, top fans of the show today, Lucky Singh, blowing away the competition with experience points from, this is YouTube's ranking, this isn't mine, but blowing away the competition. Lucky Singh in number 1, Mr. Brown Knight 989 in number 2, and then Natasha number 3, tied actually with Stephanie for 3rd. They have the same amount of points. So congratulations to you guys and girls and ladies. Thank you for all the support, and we'll catch you tomorrow. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Friday evening and night. Stay safe. I think we're all rooting for PSG. Yeah, so go PSG, and enjoy the Champions League match, and then we'll be live later on. All right, so until then, take care. Thank you guys, appreciate it, and we'll speak tomorrow. All right.